Thank you for watching Retro Tech. Please like and subscribe. Shh.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Retro Tech. Today we are going to be looking at a 1351Q monitor. This is one of the monitors that I got in my recent haul video, which I'll tag to right here in case you missed that. This is the monitor that was in the test demo at the end and the one that was actually working fine. So today is just pretty much a preventative maintenance check. We're going to go through and take it apart, clean it, and then I'm also going to put a geometry capacitor kit in it. We're going to do all that and then recalibrate, and we'll get it fixed up and ready for an auction. So stick with us and let's go ahead and get started. So now that all this, again, I removed the 6 screws on the side and then 4 on the back, and they're all Phillips head screws, and this shell will just slide right off. I'm getting ready to discharge now, and just so you know, if you read the manual to this procedure of discharging for a Sony PVM, they will actually say in there to remove the anode cap safely and then discharge after you have it removed. I don't do it that way. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way by discharging it while it's still connected and then removing it. But you always want to check to see first if you have a plastic piece here that's holding the, for example, that one's holding that anode cap's cable right there. I don't want it to get in the way. But here's my discharge tool, and if you want to know how to make a discharge tool, I will tag to how I made this discharge tool in a video up above. But it's very simple, and I'm just going to go in here now. I'm going to flip up this anode cap, and then there's a little spot in there, and I'm just touching it, and then push it in and release it. And then we can go ahead and tap that a couple more times, and then we'll tap the tube right here where it was connected, because that's a metal piece that can keep it charged sometimes. And that's it. If you want to, you can let it sit for a minute and then discharge the tube again. But for the most part, we should be good and safe to completely tear this monitor down and work on it. Here's our main chassis. It slides right out. If you try to do something like this, just remember it slides out. Don't try to remove the board from this black frame until after you have it out of the monitor. The caps that we're going to be working on today are over in this area. These are the caps that I'm concerned with. They control a lot of the geometry functions, and they're right around these hot areas, these heat sink. I've gone ahead and marked them, but there are 4 along this area, 2 over here, another 4 over here, and then there's 2 back in this area around this chip that we're going to be replacing. We're obviously not replacing all these because that's about another 25 capacitors in this area. So if you wanted to, you could replace everything. There's a line that goes along this chassis here. You can see it kind of a line, and then it goes along here. And then if you wanted to, you could replace the maybe 40 capacitors that are on this side of the chassis, and that's the hot area and most of the controls. Everything over here is very controls other things in the monitor, but since there's not as much heat generated around these components, they don't tend to fail as often, really. I'm installing the final couple caps in this kit, and while I'm doing that, I'll kind of talk to you a little bit about caps and cap kits. So I'm using only high quality capacitors. A couple of them are upgrade parts, and what I mean by upgrade is the tolerances are a little higher. That information came to me from just studying and actually looking at some of the stuff Savon Pat did with his cap kits, and how there's some things in some of these monitors that Sony changed over the years, and then they would tell their installers or their employees what changed on it. And so these are a couple of those things are stuff like that where it won't be listed in the manufacturer's manual unless they did an amendment to the manual, and so that's why some of these capacitor values are different. I'm also still working on the capacitor kits that I had mentioned, oh goodness, back in March. So those are still in the works, and the reason it's taken me longer than I had anticipated was I'm trying to come up with a decent looking piece of paper to have for the install guide, but there's also variations in these capacitor kits too, where one capacitor is different. So today this is a 1351Q. I thought this would be closer to a 1354Q cap kit, but it does have one different cap here, and that's the same. That cap's also different in the 1353 MD, so this one's actually closer to that cap kit than the 54Q. So things like that, I'm going through and documenting them. I'm slowly getting it all done. I apologize for anybody who's been waiting because it's taken me longer than I had hoped. But I am just a one-man show right now still here at Retro Tech, and that just means that I have to do things. If I want to do things right, I got to make sure that I take my time, and also don't have anybody that works for me that can do some of these things yet. And hopefully one day that'll change, but for now, that's the way it is. My plan is to put this last capacitor in, and then I'm going to start cleaning this board, as well as clean the monitor inside and outside, the rest of the frame and chassis and tube and everything. So that's it. That's the final cap and the cap kit. Everything's done. I will go back and clean off that back area with some alcohol, but there's the finished capacitor kit installed. We got all those about 12, 13 caps in there replaced and installed. Let's go ahead and start cleaning it now. My board is relatively clean in here for the most part, but I'm going to get rid of a lot of the leftover flux by using just some alcohol and then some tips, Q-tip style things here. And I'll just go over that area where a lot of that flux sits. It's real sticky after a little bit. And just use the alcohol to clean up the areas really well. Probably take 5 or 10 minutes of just doing what I'm doing right here right now. Alright, so I cleaned my board off and it's pretty well ready to go. And there's the Q-tips. You can see that yellow stuff. That's really what the flux is. It's pretty nasty and sticky again. That's all gone. This board's clean, and now we're going to go clean the rest of the monitor so we can reassemble it. As I get ready to clean this up, I'm going to remove my power board. Now there are normally 2 screws here, which I've gone ahead and removed. I'm not going to fully remove this. I'm just going to flip it and move it out to the side. That way I can get over here and just wipe off my tube a little bit, and I'll wipe off around here and get the dust and grime kind of off the back here. And then I'm going to clean up my my electron gun glass over here too with some Windex. Let's just get this electron gun shiny. Some of that nasty soot that builds up over the years off of there. to go. So we've got a screen. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set things up for calibration. I'll kind of walk you through that a little bit. So let's go ahead now and get things set up where we can calibrate this monitor. Alright, we're going to go ahead now and jump into some screen calibration. Today I'm going to use the 240p Test Suite software, and that is on my EverDrive cartridge, which this is the SD to SNES. This is the original old one, but what you want to do here is pull up your test patterns. If you want to get this software, you can use it on other consoles. I'm using it on the Super Nintendo today, but if I pull up test bars, the first thing that I'm going to pull up and look at is this first grid, and also my linearity. So that's pretty well within the area here, but I want to make this bottom screen come up a little bit more. Let's go back to that grid. And so to pull up my menu, I'm going to come over here on the front of my, I'm going to go on the front of my monitor. I'm going to press the menu button, and then while this menu is loaded, I'm going to press the degauss button and the enter button on my monitor at the same time, and that pulls up my sub menu here. And when you're dealing with geometry on your main screen, you're going to deal with your first 19 or 20 settings usually. That gets to underscan. So here it's up to number 17 is the highest we'll go to calibrate our main screen. And if we go down from there, we'll have some other things. This is vertical angle, lower vertical bow, vertical linearity, sexy, upper lower pin amp, lower pin amp, pin phase, horizontal size, vertical center, vertical size, video phase, horizontal frequency, and then these other three we won't be using today because they're for PAL video signals. So we're going to start on the horizontal frequency, and I'll pull my screen back up, and frequency should just shift it from left to right. So to scroll through the settings, you use the menu and the enter button. Menu goes up, enter goes down. So once I've gotten here on the fourth setting, if I go up, you see how the screen shifts from side to side. So that's one of the ways to do a horizontal shift. So you're going to try to get it in the middle, where you'll see the same amount of red bar lines on each side. And then once we've cleared that up, we'll go to the next setting, which means I'm just going to hit menu and enter. Actually, I'm going down, so I'm number 5, video phase, and that does the same thing as a horizontal sweep also. So that's just to refine that. Go down, vertical size. Okay, this is what I want to adjust. So I want to make it so my screen is in the center. I'll go to vertical center now and go up a little bit on it, because I want that whole thing to be in the center. So I want it down, but I also need to push the whole screen down just a bit. I might just go down just a couple on it so I can see the entire side. Okay, so pin phase is going to move your screen in and out like that. Like this is more your pin cushion settings. So when I just try to get these lined up as close as possible. It doesn't look like we were too far off on our initial setting. Maybe 1. Alright, after that we're going to go to pin amp, which this one's cool. It actually controls the whole pin cushion. You can really adjust. So I'm just going to sit here and mess with these adjustments some more, and I'll come back and show you kind of a finished product after I go through some more. It's just going to take some time of fooling with this. So before I do anything else, to save my settings I need to hit degauss once and it'll say write. up in the top right hand corner and hit it again, and you'll see a star signal, and that means it's written your settings. If you don't like your settings, you can always just power the monitor down and it'll go back to the settings before. So that's pretty much it for the calibration right now. Let's go check some other screens before we finish up. Linearity going to be again an important one. Circles look pretty good. And then color bars, it's a cool one. And this is a good one to check. There we go. You can see the three lines there. So that's good. We've got this monitor pretty well tuned to start testing with some other things. So now that it's all done, we'll get it cleaned. They'll get the shell cleaned up. We'll get some more testing done, and we'll come back and take a final look at the monitor all finished. And here it is, our finished Sony PVM. It just needs to be run through some more tests. Wanted to give you a quick shot. I will be cleaning the glass a little bit more, but you can see how clean it looks, and it's ready to plug in for some testing, some final testing that is. And I'll look back here and show you how the back looks. Quick look at the label for everybody. Alright, so there you have it. We've got the 1351Q all tidied up, restored, and ready to be put out there in full-time use. Today I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to play any more games on it. I'm going to try a videotape. This is just a regular old VHS of some old Bruce Lee. I'm going to throw it in here. I've got it run through S-Video on the monitor, and that way you can kind of see how some kung fu looks on the PVM. Enjoy. All right, well, there you have it. The finished, completed 1351Q. It's ready to go, and it's looking for a new home. So this one's going to be one of the first featured items on my new Patreon PVM auction. I'll have another short, very short highlight video of this PVM coming this week, and then I'll have a detail on how the auction's going to work. But the video that's going to be kind of the overview that shouldn't be more than 2 minutes long. It's just going to be a real quick demo and, like, you know, sale ad almost for the highlights on the 1351Q. And then again, I'll go into those deeper details on how that auction is going to work in a separate video, just to give everybody kind of the rules and the guidelines on there. But look for that all to happen very quickly. And again, thank you to everybody for being a supporter right now on Patreon. Thank you to everyone for watching the videos and subscribing to the channel. I'm Steve. Have a wonderful day.